Hello! Thank you so much for dropping by this video. I'm very delighted and excited to be here sharing some really powerful, in my view, the most powerful ideas on the planet for transforming yourself, your life, and actually to really change this planet, to really help and heal this planet. So I titled today's talk "Being What You Are: An Instrument of the Love and Power of God." That's I was very inspired when I wrote it, and now I'm realizing that that's a very ambitious title. So this is about so much of my life, and I think many people's lives, is striving to achieve something, striving to become something or achieve something. And tonight we are going to talk about some striving, but one of the interesting paradoxes of, in this case, striving to be an instrument of God, specifically an instrument of God's love and power, is that it's actually what we already are. We already are. All of us are receivers and senders of energy. And in our good moments, we're receivers and senders of divine energy, and um, guided by a higher principle and a higher power. So that capacity is already within us. More than already within us, it's what we are. It's what we're here to do. And so tonight we're going to talk a little bit about um, how to focus in on that, how to decide, yes, that's what I am, that's how I want to live, that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to be I'm here to be in service to the divine and in service to all of creation. So, one of the basic principles for doing this is to recognize that there is a power or an energy that is available to help us do this. In fact, without this power, without this energy, we can't fulfill this mission that really we're all on, to fulfill this divine purpose, to serve and to contribute to life and to evolve and grow. So, how to access this power, how to take it in to give us fuel for life? Well, this man, whose picture you can see behind me, named Bruno Groening, he gave a very simple, I don't want to call it a technique, but it's kind of a technique for how to receive this vital divine energy. And it's very easy to do. And I'm smiling because my friend Krista said hello. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining in, Krista. And Miguel, if you're watching this too, hola. So, how to take in this healing life energy? Please sit with your legs uncrossed, feet flat on the floor, hands on your legs, palms facing upwards, back in a relaxed upright position, if possible, not leaning against your chair. And then please close your eyes. Now, really, hand over burdens, worries, hand over the past. It's past. And anything we're worried about the future, hand that over. Hand it over to the divine, or hand it over to a spiritual helper that you trust. Bruno Groening said that he was someone who could help. He also spoke very highly of Christ. So just, in essence, give your problems away. Entrust them to God, or entrust them to a helper of God. And now, having handed over your burdens, and that includes illnesses, that we can literally give away an illness. Now, having handed those things over, now ask a spiritual helper you trust, such as Bruno, such as Christ, or just ask God directly, please, I want to receive the divine healing life energy, and observe your body. As they say in Spanish, observo su cuerpo. Observe your body, noticing what you feel, having the intention to receive, to take in this divine energy. So we'll sit in silence for a few minutes. Every now and then I'll come in with a little reminder, and the practice is to observe your body with the intention to take this energy in. Noticing what you feel, having the intention to take this energy in. Just coming back to the present moment, to observing the body. Just continuing to observe your body, noticing what you feel, intending to receive this energy. So I'm going to talk and read a little bit, and I invite you to, if you want to, you can sit with your eyes closed and continue to take in this divine energy. So, for anyone who's new to this channel, so I've mentioned this guy, Bruno Groening, a couple of times. And who was he? Well, he was active in post World War II Germany, and around him, the unfathomable happened. Blind people regained their vision, deaf people regained their hearing, paralyzed people stood up out of their wheelchairs and walked. Terminal cases of cancer were healed. Severe cases of psychosis or PTSD completely healed. And what he shared was that all of such healings were actually natural, that they only seem supernatural because humanity has moved so far away from God and nature, but that actually health is natural, and that there is a force or energy which can easily restore health, even to what we might think of as incurable. For the divine, nothing is incurable and nothing is impossible. So this happened in the tens of thousands while he was in his body, and since he's left his body, it's tens of thousands more. We don't know how many, probably at this point, at least 100,000 healings, and that's probably a conservative estimate. I myself have experienced so many healings from taking in this energy. So, how is such a thing possible? Well, to fathom it, we need to step outside of the paradigm of physics, chemistry, and biology, and they're good as far as they go, and to look to something underneath them. Is there a law that supersedes what we call laws? Bruno Groening, like many great mystics, teachers, said yes, there is a divine law, that everything else, all of creation, rests on this law, and that there is a force or power, which Bruno Groening called God. But he spoke of God in a very different manner, saying that God was than most people think of, that God is everywhere and in everything, and is all good, all loving, and never punishes. And that force is available to help us. And what we've just been doing, and hopefully you're still doing right now, is taking in some of that divine force into your body. And that force, which Bruno Groening also said is order, is harmony, is health, is stronger than disorder and disease, and can easily displace the disorder. So, to be an instrument of God, to be a channel, a conduit of this energy, we need to get very clear that this energy, this divine energy, the energy of God, is bigger than any problem. You know, when we as human beings face a problem, we tend to magnify the problem to where it just becomes huge, and we lose perspective that problem, even a terminal medical diagnosis, is compared to the power of God. Any medical illness, any illness, is just like a grain of sand dropped in the ocean. I've healed so many things in myself, and I've met so many people healed cavities, people who healed cancer, brain. A very good friend of mine had brain swelling. The doctors didn't know why. There was just this swelling in her brain. It was giving her insomnia and anxiety, bipolar depression. She couldn't think, she couldn't concentrate, she couldn't sleep. The doctors didn't know why, didn't know what to do. And soon after taking this energy in, it completely went away. Now, this may seem extraordinary to us as human beings, but that's only because we're thinking backwards. We're thinking that the material world is what's supreme, when actually it's the spiritual world, or more accurately, God, which is the supreme ultimate power. And right here, right now, if you're tuning in, if you're doing this practice of taking this energy in, you're literally accessing the most powerful force in the universe. It can do anything. So let's spend a little time and reflect on this. Tune ourselves in. Focus on the highest power. And a very simple way to do this is to observe your body while having the intention to take in, to absorb, to receive this energy, noticing what you feel. Just continue to notice what you feel, open to receive. Letting go of the idea of incurable, letting go of the idea of impossible. So, again, please do continue to take this energy in while I talk and read a little more. So, a key component of of how to be a miracle worker, how to pass this energy along, is an attitude of humility. Now, Bruno Groening would do energy work on 30,000 people at once. And, you know, and as I said, blind people would regain their vision. People, all kinds of illnesses would literally just vanish. Yet he was humble, unspeakably humble, saying that he never healed anyone, that it was always the divine power, that he was literally just transmitting the divine power, which he pointed out we can all do. And here's his attitude towards the divine. He said, "I am and remain a child. I won't change myself, no, and all of you and everyone else can believe what you will. I am and remain a child, simply a child of God, nothing more. I do not imagine myself to be anything else. No, nor am I afraid to say so either, because I know that I am just a child. But many people are not children anymore because they have grown up." So um, part of what Bruno Groening called us to, as have again many great saints and mystics, is this recognition of being in relationship to the infinite, and recognizing that while we are intimately connected with the infinite, we're just a small part, and that we have an absolute utter dependence, in the truest sense of the word, dependence on the infinite, our creator, our source, our parent, just the way a newborn is utterly dependent on their parents. So again, Bruno Groening was able to be the conduit for all these healings. And then he would say things like, "I am nothing, God is everything." And in the 21st century, it's with technology and grocery stores, and it's easy to forget. It's easy to feel independent. Oh, I don't need the divine. I don't need God. And Bruno Groening very clearly said there is no life without God, that God is actually life itself. And if we're not deeply connected to and seeking the divine, that we're actually not really living. We're not fully in life. So let's sit with this a little bit, this idea of being humble before the divine, recognizing our need and dependence. And this energy we're taking in, it's not just for healing. According to Bruno Groening, it's natural for human beings to, in essence, live on this energy. It's more like we need this energy to thrive. Human beings can absolutely continue to live on a biological level without any prayer, without any meditation, without seeking the divine. But can they really live in the truest sense of the word? Bruno Groening said no. So let's fill us up with this divine energy of life, our source, our maker, and let it charge our batteries, fill us up so that we can really then pass along goodness. Really, we're just taking in the energy of goodness, filling ourselves up so that we can then do good deeds and then pass this good energy along to others. It's a beautiful way to live. So again, observing the body, recognizing a need for the divine. taking in this energy. So we've looked at the idea that there is a divine power that we can tune into for our own help and healing and pass along. And we've also looked at a new idea of God as, as life itself, that's all that created all of this and yet is also in all of this, including us, inside each one of us. And we've looked at the idea that for this supreme reality and God's divine energy, nothing's impossible. All you need to do is look up at the night sky to recognize that nothing is impossible, or contemplate the amazingness of your own body, the proof of God's um, majesty is these beautiful bodies we've been given. I looked it up once. Our bodies have, I think it's 100 million cells. It might be 100 billion. I'll have to double check. But who can fathom? Each cell is like a tiny living creature. Whether we look up into the night sky or we just look at our own bodies, the majesty of the force that made all this, truly unfathomable, unthinkable, the reality that gave us this existence and made all this. And so, how to relate to it? Bruno Groening, as did Christ, and again, as did many other great saints, called us to truly treat the divine like a parent and to truly recognize how small we are. Not to deny that God lives within us, but also to not deny our place in the universe. It's just a small part of this unthinkably vast creation. In simple words, to be humble before this force and recognize our need of it. Bruno Groening called us to faith, not faith in the religious sense of the word, as in believing a specific doctrine or book or church or organization, but faith in the sense of trust. When you trust a friend or you trust another person, there's someone you can rely on. You have this visceral felt sense. Oh, I can rely on this person. That's the attitude of faith or trust that Bruno Groening called us to have towards the divine, to recognize that God is utterly reliable. Bruno Groening went so far as to say that trust in the good is the foundation of divine order, meaning divine order in our lives and in our bodies. That the absolute foundation of that is trust in the divine. Now, personally, before I found this teaching, I didn't even really believe in God. But after my first healing, which was of a second-degree burn, that's where the top layer of the skin is permanently burnt off. That happened to me in, I think it was 2009 or 2010. And then I found this teaching in 2012, and the skin grew back. When I showed it to the doctor in 2009, he said, "Oh, that's a second-degree burn. That's where the part of the skin, a first-degree burn is just, where the top layer is damaged." But he said a second-degree burn is where the part of the skin that grows back has actually been destroyed. You'll have that for the rest of your life, is what he said. Well, in the middle of a meeting just like this, my thumb started to itch and I started to rub it like this, just kind of unconsciously rubbing it. And I looked down and I was shocked. The bright red spot that I'd had for 2 or 3 years was no longer bright red. It was light red. And a couple days later, it was then dark pink. A couple days later, it was light pink. And then pale, and then splotchy, and then skin color, and then the fingerprint grew back. So again, from the medical point of view, the part of the skin that grows, when we cut ourselves, the skin grows back. Well, from the medical point of view, that part of my skin had been destroyed. I'd had this for over 2 years. It could have been 3 years. I forget the exact date. And then in the middle of a meeting like this, taking in divine energy, the impossible started to happen in my own body. Truly, that which was dead, that part of my body was dead, came back to life and regrew. And it regrew to such an extent that even my fingerprint came back. That part of my thumb no longer had a fingerprint. And that was just the first of many healings. So let's really sit with this little healing that was actually huge. Let's sit with the fact that for this infinite power, all things are possible. All things are curable. And that while we may not like everything that happens to us in life, let's ask the question, is it possible that underneath everything that happens, there's an underlying order that's moving things towards the good? Said more simply, is it possible that there is a fundamental reality, God, that God is completely trustworthy, that everything is steered by the divine? Taking in this good energy, noticing what you feel. taking on the paradigm of limitlessness, that there is a power and force that is limitless and it is available to help and heal. Having the intention to receive this energy, so Bruno Groening, who was able to pass along this energy and help people in such a way that literally, who can say how many people, how many healings have occurred? I go to different meetings based around this a couple times a week, and I just hear healing after healing after healing from all around the world. It's truly amazing. And here's what Bruno Groening said about himself and about you and me and all of us. Believe that I am nothing more than your helper. Believe, dear friends, that I am nothing more than a servant of God, which you can also be if you want to be, if you only do it. And believe, dear friends, that I am nothing more than a tool, an instrument of God, which in reality you are also, which you are not yet able to believe. Love, life, God. God is everywhere. So, in essence, Bruno Groening pointed out that he was nothing more than a instrument of God, a tool of God, a servant of God, and that all of us, that's what we really are. He just happened to know what he was. And he said that even after was no longer in his body, he would be very available to help people, to not just help people heal, but to help people learn to be what they are, a miracle worker, one who passes along this energy, one who receives the good and shares the good. And so you can ask him for help. I thought that was the strangest thing I'd ever heard of, asking a dead guy, a dead dude who I'd never met to help me. But he pointed out, he said, once, he said, before he left his body, he said, I will die too. And they'll put my body in the ground, but I won't be dead. I'll still be able to help and heal. When you call me, I come and I help. So you can ask Bruno Groening, and he has no monopoly on the spiritual help business or any other being who you just absolutely trust for help in any situation. And I just invite you to try it out and let me know the results. So we talked about, what are we doing here on this earth? Well, according to Bruno Groening, we're all here to grow and to learn, to free ourselves from all burdens and to help other people, to be, as he so poetically called it, to be an instrument of God. You could also say a conduit of the divine. We looked at some principles for how to do that, how to tune into and attune ourselves to this divine force, this recognition that there is an infinite reality. In fact, Bruno Groening said, God is nothing impossible, which I understand to mean that God is limitlessness itself. So, and how to tap into that limitlessness and how to relate to it. Bruno Groening offered the statement of being a child, recognizing that we are children of God. And my understanding is to take on that attitude. They pointed out the power of faith, that the recognition that there is a reality that's utterly dependable is the end of fear or the ending of fear. Fear may come back, and then we give it away and come back to the truth that there is something that can be relied on. There is fundamental goodness, and that goodness is all around us and within us. And that this man, Bruno Groening, an unspeakably great healer, said that all of us are just like him. That we have that same inner capacity. So I'd like to thank everyone for joining in. A special welcome to especial bienvenidos a Krista y Miguel. A special welcome to Krista and Miguel. It's their first online meeting. And if you take nothing else away from you tonight, I pray that you remember what happened to my thumb. And that truly nothing is incurable. Nothing is impossible because God is nothing impossible. God is infinite. It's hard for us human beings to grasp, but we can start to experience it. And that this guy, Bruno Groening, is available to help. Just ask and see what happens. Thank you so much for joining in. I wish everyone a beautiful morning, afternoon, and evening, full of good energy. And keep an eye out for miracles. They're readily available, and they happen every day. Thank you so much for joining in. Take care. Much love.